Straight through into the first provocation. So joining me on stage will be Sol Rogers, and Sol is the founder and CEO of Rewind, which is an immersive content studio. Rewind, if you follow this field, which a lot of you do, you'll know that they were behind the BBC Home, the VR Spacewalk, and they've also done Silicon Valley Inside the Hacker Hostel for HBO, which I haven't seen yet, Sol, apologies, but I will. Sol is the chairman of Immersive UK. It's great to have a trade entity already, sort of bottom-up, generated by Momentum trade entity with Sol and Fiona Kokeli looking after it. And he's also looking after BAFTA's Immersive Entertainment Advisory Group. So it'd be fascinating to see what he has to say about, I think it says, impact beyond the creative industries. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have Sol Rogers.
I'm disappointed we're not going to watch a film. I got excited.
Little film, though.
It's a little film.
Little film.
Little film. Well, I'm sure we'll come back to it.
We'll watch in a minute.
Well, thank you very much for letting me come today and talk. Very gracious invitation from Andrew Chitty and all the team at Beyond. It's not often I get to talk about wider subjects. Normally people just want me to talk about VR and AR and immersive and XR and a whole bunch of other acronyms that don't mean a lot to a lot of people. But the impact of creativity beyond the industry that we consider is pretty interesting. One of the questions I want to ask you guys first is, what does creativity actually mean to you? You don't have to tell me right now, but have a think about it, and maybe we can discuss it later in the bar. Someone asked me this in an interview recently, and it kind of blindsided me for a moment. And creativity is everything to me. It's everything we do. It's unbounded by any of the rules and regulations of the current industries we work within. And in fact, it's really just problem solving. Sometimes problem solving is making a beautiful image. Sometimes problem solving is making a film that emotes something. Sometimes problem solving is working out how to do your accounts. Hopefully not too creatively, but you get what I mean. For me, I grew up alternative. This is me carrying my little brother. I still do carry my little brother who works with us as our head of special projects. He's not here. If you met him, Oliver Kibblewhite has a very big beard. Can't miss him. Sometimes. He's much taller, but I can still do it. But we actually grew up in the New Age traveller community. So we lived in a bus or a coach till I was 10 years old, and we travelled around the UK, and this was my school. This is Uncle Benji the Clown, who's not an uncle at all. And that's me in the middle with long hair. And that kind of upbringing gave me lots of freedom and flexibility to experience art, music, design, whatever I wanted. But it also didn't really bound me by any of the rules and regulations that most people have when they go through school. So when I started at 10, it was a pretty tough year, fitting into what society wants you to be within the norms. This was where I lived. I lived at Stonehenge or Glastonbury. And that's my uncle's wedding in 1980 in full punk. He's now the head librarian at the UN International School, which is, I swear to God. But my father realised there wasn't any schools in the traveller community, be they New Age or not, so he started the school bus. And the school bus managed to get a few £1 million grant from the National Lottery, and so there's now 13 of these that go around between different traveller sites, New Age traveller sites, giving up to GCSE, so I'm very proud of that. I rebelled against alternative nature because I wanted strange things like running water and electricity. It's a little different for some. And I ended up actually becoming a lecturer at Hertfordshire University for my first formative part of my career. 12 years there, helping write their animation, visual effects degrees, a couple of their masters, and supervised a couple of PhDs. But I realised I was going to die in the best job in the world, so I thought I'd try something new and start a business, because how hard can that be, right? Pretty damn hard. Especially not realizing that there's a whole world called startups and free money you can get and just burn it and then hope to sell to Google by the time you're finished. I didn't do that. I thought I'd make bits of art and sell them for more than they cost us to make. Pretty straightforward. Here we are 7 years later with almost 50 employees, a small office in San Francisco, and this rabble of creatives who are engineers, artists, modelers, creatives, story scriptwriters, and anything in between. So, as we spoke about before, I run Rewind, I help chair BAFTA's Immersive Group, and also with Fiona do Immersive UK. And that's really because of the work we've been doing has been so cross-sector. There are some amazing luminaries within this new immersive industry, but there aren't many of us. and we're actually having a winter at the moment out there in VR and AR that we need to kind of band together. So the type of things we do installations, activations, pieces of art. We do entertainment and enterprise content. Sometimes it looks like a game, sometimes it looks like an app, sometimes it's a VR experience, and lots of marketing and advertising, and we look and feel like an agency. And the main things we live within are VR, AR, mixed reality, so MR, and beyond into things we don't have words for yet. And we get a shopping list daily from different creatives and agencies asking for a blockchain-enabled AI, Pokemon Go-esque, augmented reality, blah, 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 blah. I'd have to explain that they are very different. But at their core, actually, there's a story being told. You're trying to pick a medium that you want to put it within. So I'm going to show you 50 seconds of the sort of things we're doing. And I'm going to pick on 2 projects that I think are interesting because it shows how something that came in through a piece of art, a piece of creativity, has actually done business change within those industries themselves. First time I've ever played that, actually. Oh, it's all right. Clap at the end. It's not a show yet. So yeah, things like Ghost in the Shell, that was taking a big piece of IP from Hollywood and reimagining it for virtual reality. Launching Jaguar's electric car, I'll talk about that in a moment. Using mixed reality to enhance the motorsport viewing of the Red Bull Air Race, the fastest motorsport on the planet. For our sins, we ended up doing The Apprentice last year. We were the VR company that they brought their 2 teams to, and we had to make what ridiculous the ideas they came up with and launch them at Comic-Con in 24 hours. I went to the producer midway through the afternoon, and I said, "You do know these are terrible, terrible ideas." And he goes, "I know, it's brilliant." Reality TV. Understood. Well, carry on. A friend of mine did see the trail for it and goes, "You do know this could ruin our industry." And I said, "Well, hopefully it won't get that bad." So we all know creativity is infinite, it's unbounded. Well, time and budget is not. It's an easy thing to say, but when it comes down to it, we have a time frame that we need to work within, when we have a budget we need to work within for everything. Even if it's a piece of art for yourself, at some point, sadly, we're all going to die, and so you're never going to finish that painting yourself unless you give yourself a time frame to fit within. Usually it's actually because we're doing a job, or we have a show, or the film has to come out in February, that we have some bounds to our creativity. But sadly, creatives always want to push the boundaries and go as far as they can, but we have to work within times or budgets. So we produced a project called Home, which was alongside the BBC, which is a spacewalk. It allows anybody to go to space and climb around on the International Space Station and experience what it's like to be a NASA astronaut. I'll play a small bit of it. I think I'll talk over the top. So this project started out with an interview with Tim Peake talking about one of his missions, and we thought through virtual reality we can make you feel and make you believe you're there, and along the way we ended up building a nuts and bolts perfect version of the ISS, and it was so accurate that when we asked Tim, and this is Tim's actual VR training simulator, which
I think it's really important to make all of your training as realistic as possible. And certainly, this facility helped.
Which is not very realistic, not very helpful. But the project we built was so realistic and so good, so that when we showed it to Tim and Nicole, and the 12-year-old version of me standing next to Nicole, she said it was as close to the thing as real as you could ever get. In fact, it made her feel like she could she could go back to space. And in fact, that's her doing a spacewalk, which is basically the same mission that we built our mission around. But she said it was better than NASA's training simulator. And something that was built as a piece of entertainment that is that impactful and can use in a different industry was pretty interesting. And this was 4 years ago, just when we were beginning to move into the space. No pun intended. We've actually gone one step further, and we're actually launching, hopefully, we've started a joint venture to launch our own satellite mid-summer next year, so in 18 months' time, which will live stream from space a 24-hour video feed to allow anyone to put a headset on and go into low Earth orbit, which will be quite exciting. So we went from entertainment into rocket science, so that's apparently a thing we can do now. Within the other end of it, so this is another piece, Jaguar themselves, launching their electric car, they wanted a big PR press marketing moment. And ourselves, along with an agency called Imagination, brought this moment together where 66 people in an audience put headsets on, saw each other as an avatars, and we allowed them to be in space and have the designer tilt brush out the car in front of you, all the forms of the vehicle, which then formed and fell to Earth, and end up being the backdrop to 45 minutes of theatre, where the theatre could be unbounded by the realities of physics, realities of cost or time or budget. Still had to fit within it. But the amazing thing was about it, I'll play 30 seconds of this.
Right from the outset, we thought about this project differently. We've done things differently at every stage of the process. The end result is something really out of this world. The Jaguar I-Pace concept is a stablemate to the hugely successful F-Pace. It's a performance car, a family car, and an SUV all in one. And it's electric. This car is a natural evolution for Jaguar. It's bold, it's different, but it's still unmistakably a Jaguar.
The amazing thing about it was that it worked, for a start. Admittedly, 10 minutes before the first show, and I could hear the audience the other side, all of the machines needed rebooting. And I knew it took 7 minutes to reboot. And I had to make the call to either go with it or not. So I said, let's go for a reboot. We hope they turn up. If not, the show's going to have to be delayed. And it all came up, and then it ran 5 times absolutely perfectly. And people put headsets on, and they saw this vehicle in front of them, and they could see the intricate details of the battery pack, the motors, and everything else. And we got some amazing press of it. It's talking about how product launches should be changed forever because of it. The most interesting thing for us, though, is very early in the project, we had the CAD designs for the vehicle in our studio, and we had it in virtual reality. And we had their design team coming down to check off finishes and quality of what they were going to see, so that when the public and the journalists saw this, they could be able to understand what was going to be accurate. And the first time I put the designer in, I was worried about things like polygon count and anti-aliasing and texture quality and all these things which are really important to us. And they were leaning around in the car, and they leant over to the side, and he said, actually, we should move the wood grain from kind of horizontally to vertical. I think it would work a lot better. And I realized that they'd never sat in their car. They've only ever seen visuals from it. They didn't have a concept one. They didn't have a clay. This was the first time they were seeing it. And they could now make design decisions on the fly. And my guys in the studio could actually swap that out immediately and allow them to see it. And that really influenced a whole opportunity of change. Now, they've been working within virtual reality, within caves for a long time. But it takes that seed of opportunity where literally the cross-pollination of what we thought was a marketing play ended up being a design play. And now it's actually, here we are, many years later, every automotive company in the world is now designing that. In fact, Bell Helicopters, if you didn't see over the weekend, announced they've designed their new helicopter 10 times faster using virtual reality, so 10x more efficient, which is pretty amazing. We step into this other strange world which is running at us incredibly quickly. Microsoft calls it mixed reality. Some people call it augmented. Some people call it XR, whatever you want to call it. I don't really mind. But head-mounted, a pair of glasses like this that lets you see another world that's always around you and with you. This is Microsoft's video from a few years ago, and it's pretty old hat. But the truth of it is that everything within this video is achievable on their device and is multiplied on the new Magic Leap headset. And it's going to affect everything we do, from entertainment from things that we truly believe are our creative industries to things that we don't really understand yet. So if we kind of dial back to just one simple thing, this device knows, is spatially aware of everything around us. We can place objects and characters within it as if they were real objects, and because I'm wearing a pair of glasses like this one day, they'll be with us at all times. Magic Leap calls this the magic verse. It's talking about layers of reality that you can switch on and switch off. But if you just take one example at the very beginning, a television that can be on any wall, of any size, of any quality, of any resolution, and as many as you like, that instantly changes what we need for those black boxes that hang in our houses. Is Sony, LG, Panasonic ever going to make a television in the same way again, if this device can have them on any surface? Is a laptop ever going to need a screen again? Is a mobile phone ever going to need a screen again? This is going to change everything. So I tried it on a plane on the way home. The guy asleep next to me was very confused when he woke up. And the stewardess looked nervous, so I didn't use it for very long. Magic Leap have come out with their headset, and it's an evolution of what's possible with this idea of mixed reality that's always with us and always on. And these guys are up to something. I have no NDAs with them. I just know if you look at all the noise that at some point, if they end up in the space, it's going to be pretty special. This demo here is the thing that really enthuses me. So this is a company called Leap Motion. The idea is the headset knows where my hand is. If it knows where my hand is, it can track a digital object or screen onto that place. So that means that you don't have to worry about foldable screens like Samsung does. A screen can exist anywhere in space at any point. Or why do we need monitors and desktops when they can exist right in front of your eyes? What this means for design industries, for what we do for work, how we live, and how we educate is going to be impactful on everything, let alone what we're going to do for entertainment. It's why I keep saying that I think mixed reality is the future of humanity. Definitely a great title to put in any journalistic write-up, but I truly believe it. I think there's an interconnection nature we have with our digital selves and each other through social media. I talk to my mum through WhatsApp more than I do on the phone, through actual voice. But if I had a pair of glasses where I could dial her in to have dinner with me at any point, or I could go to the football match with my granddad whenever I like, or I could sit in this audience without having to travel into London. Not that I minded today, it's a lovely day. I think it's going to be incredibly important, not only for the creative industries, but everything we do. Thank you all for listening. I'm looking forward to the rest of the afternoon.